Hey guys, I am back, taking a break from the shop, looking at a viewer request. Not just a viewer request, but a Patreon viewer request. So let's talk about Michael Hawke. If you are not familiar with the name Michael Hawke, Mr. Hawke is a former Special Forces operator, Green Beret. There is only one group with the actual title of Special Forces. People throw it around a lot. Now there's a Special Operations community, but the actual term Special Forces refers to the United States Army Green Berets. They are the Special Forces. Had to know that one to, grown up with a dad who was Special Forces, or get slapped around a little bit for misusing that. Anyway, he was a former enlisted man. He held a number of positions. He was a 18 Delta, 18 Fox, Trot, 18 Echo. He retired and got into the private sector. Makes a number of products now, including some tools, but he also makes some training courses, books, and stuff like that. And I was asked if I would take a look at one of his survival knives that he makes. So his folding knife, which looks very similar to this, is out of production. Cannot find it. I tried, look for it, but some of his fixed blades are still in production. Now, when I'm looking at this one and I found it online, I noticed something oddly familiar about some of the design elements in this, and we're going to talk about why they are so familiar and look at something else we recently looked at. But let's see, do we have specs on this? No, we don't. So I have to put the specs in text, but let's get into this. You've all seen the video on the Sea Dog at this point. I love this knife. I cannot tell you. Been doing the carry, the tests. After I do a review on any knife, I like to carry it around for a while, just see if there's anything significant to tell you guys. And what I can tell you about this knife is it is a workhorse. Oh my gosh. Been using it in the shop, been carrying it around. Love this knife. So let's just get into this package right here. Trying very hard not to cut through the paper. So, doesn't seem like there's any other paperwork or anything that comes with it. So let's take a look at the sheath first. Got a little rigidity in the sheath, not a whole lot. There's a very soft plastic insert that goes in there. But looks like you've got one belt loop up top. You've got the ability to put it on your molly gear with PALS webbing right there. You've got one external pouch, not very wide, but you could fit something in there. And does this serve as a pouch too? This could, no, it cannot. No, it looks like it. In terms of holding the knife, pretty secure. And then tie string for your thigh, or ankle if you're carrying it down lower or whatever. But there is the whole setup there. Anybody notice anything familiar yet? Anybody seeing anything else in this knife here? Something we've looked at in the recent near past? No? Okay. Well, I'll show you something in a little bit, just a little bit. So, the knife itself. So AUS 8, I don't know if it's standard AUS 8 or cryo treated. It says it's PVD coated, and then I guess they gave it a bit of a stonewash finish there. It is a nice handle, a handle I've felt before. Anybody getting it yet? No? It does have a decent feel and balance, good blade thickness. I'm not sure why it's got that, I want to call it a recurve, but it's not so much a recurve as boomerang shape in there. It's a very abrupt recurve in there. Now for a survival knife, I'm just not sure why you would need that shape. I mean, in a survival knife standard, I think a straight edge is good for more utility bushcraft type stuff. But we're gonna do some chopping and stuff tests later on. So no markings on the blade. besides the Hawke logo right there. It's killing me. Do you guys see what I was getting at before? We've seen this before, because I'm about to show you. This is the Michael Hawke survival knife. Our most recent Raven Crest knife of the month. Take a look at that. Interesting. So I don't know if they come from, I mean, obviously they got to come from the same manufacturer, or actually obviously not. One could be a copy of another in terms of some basic form. I don't know. Weird, because I don't see any markings on here as to where this was made. All I see is the Peregrine 2.0. It doesn't say anything at all about where it was made, who it was actually manufactured by, as does Ravencrest. All we know about Ravencrest knives is they are sold by Ravencrest. A lot of people say that Ravencrest knives are made in China, which, you know, is neither good nor bad, because there are some really good quality knives that come out of China, and a lot of the Ravencrest knives have been very good quality knives. Some are like, okay, but you can see that the finish is very similar on both of them. Ravencrest being 440C, the Peregrine 2.0 being an AUS 8 steel, but they look, besides, I mean, the blade shape obviously, the handles are identical, the finish is identical, this same mysterious cutout there, where, you know, a nice choil would fit. The 3 lanyard points, tie-down points, exactly the same. So I just thought that was really interesting, and I noticed that when I was looking online at the listing for this, the details on the handle, I just right away, I said, we just got that exact same handle in a knife. So anyway, somebody maybe can play junior detective for us on this one and figure it out. Compared to this Ravencrest, the Peregrine is a lot better weighted. I like it a lot better. The balance feels a lot better. That's very easy to find balance point right there. It gives good leverage. It feels like, anyway, for a good chop. You know, jimping I think would be a little more effective and went all the way up on this sort of thumb ramp they built in there with the lanyard hole, the tie down point, kind of like on the Ravencrest one there. I'm not sure why they wouldn't want that, but it is a comfortable knife to hold with a good blade length for your survival activities. Again, questioning the blade choice. Good straight edge might be better, but you know, we'll check that out in some actual chop testing and some, you know, beyond the standard. We're going to do the paper test and the P-cord test right now. When I'm back home at Stumpy, we'll do a little more heavy testing with this. Not a whole lot, but a little bit, just to check it out. It definitely has a unique shape. We're not having great success with the paper. Paper is a little bit damp. It's humid, but okay. It feels though like it should be cutting much better than it is. I mean, it has that feeling of a nice sharp blade. Just have a little tiny bit of P-cord in my pocket. We're gonna try the pull through. No, lots of force required, but it does. Let's try on both the back end of the blade, which does it very nicely, but again, dirty cut. Let's try on the fore end. I don't know. We'll just try the whole thing. So it could come out of the package a bit sharper. I was hoping this would be a bit sharper right out of the package for us. I don't know. For a former operator to put his name on something, I would hope that there would be a bit higher standard to it. But then again, it's also not a very expensive knife at all. Not at all. I would think that with the Tonto shape and the thickness of this steel, it does have a good amount of power and resilience for penetrating if you needed something like that. And I'm hoping that this shape is going to give us good power chopping. So we're going to reconvene when I'm back at Stumpy, and we're going to put it through some paces, some survival type activities, and see how it does. Alright guys, we are reconvening at Stumpy. We are going to see what this thing can do with its weight, its balance, and its weird little recurve and stuff. Just curious, just to get a good sense. Yeah, that wasn't too bad actually. It didn't take too long, and this is a pretty healthy old stump here. It does give some issues with just straight chopping though, because you got to really be careful where you position the blade. If you can kind of see, I don't know how to position the camera just correctly, but when you're chopping, if you just kind of bring it down, you're likely to hit right there on what would be a hilt, I guess, before you actually hit with an edge. You hit with this little corner right there. So you got to really monitor where you're trying to chop. And that kind of messes with your wrist a little bit. I'm not sure why they do that instead of just giving it a nice straight edge. But, here's some 550 cord, and when you're chopping, this part and that little hilt area are likely to hit unless you really take the time to make sure you're hitting just in the right spot. And that's a little uncomfortable, to tell you the truth. It's not a real natural way to hold a knife while chopping. If you look at it from the side here, it's, rather than being able to use your full force, you're kind of forcing yourself to come down right on that part, and it just does not feel good. If you get the chop right, it's good, but it's a very unnatural feeling. There's no real good way to describe it. You just sort of have to feel it. Let me get something else though. Pretty healthy branch here. Yeah, now, in a situation like this, it makes pretty short work of whatever it is. So, when you don't have to worry about chopping on a flat surface when you have something like this. Pretty good. If you can put whatever it is you're chopping on something like this and just have at it, then you have the entire length of the blade. You don't really have to worry about where you're going to hit. But otherwise, if you're having, say, a stump and you're trying to chop, you have to hold it in that very specific position to get that one straight edge to do the chopping for you. I don't know how I feel about this. I really don't know how I feel about this at all. I'm just not sure. In terms of doing some kind of, fine work with it, it'll get it done. The blade could use a little bit of sharpening, honestly, right out of the package, but we already saw that. But you are able to take off material in a good amount. You are able to make some really fine little shavings. If you want to start your fire with it, or you can even use this stuff. I don't talk about it very often when I'm doing tests like this, but it makes insulation if you want to stuff a bag with it or whatever, for sleeping purposes. Carving tools, carving items you want to have, whatever. Construction out in the middle of nowhere. It does a good job. The point is, I've used knives, lots of fixed blade, that were not as awkward and uncomfortable as this one to use. So I'm not really sure why they chose this shape. If there's a good reason and somebody knows it, please tell me. I personally don't find it to be as efficient as maybe some other knives. It does feel sturdy and strong though. A little bit of spring to the blade, a little bit. Definitely feels like a rugged knife. And there's still that weird connection to the Ravencrest knife, so I don't know. Now, if you're interested in this, I would recommend going online and finding one. I found mine on Amazon. There says discontinued on a lot of websites when you look. So if this is something you want to grab one now. I saw them available in the black handle and with like a desert brown or a coyote brown handle. The thunder is rolling on in, so it's a good time to wrap this up. So anyway, guys, check the links in the video description. As always, same old ones. First link that you're going to find there is a link to the Patreon page. Just got another Patreon supporter. I appreciate that a lot. It really helps bring more content to the channel. And with the upcoming giveaway, don't forget, my Patreon supporters get extra giveaway entries for stuff, so you might want to check that out. Also a link to my Facebook page, email addresses that you can contact me and stuff like that. But even if you never look at any of the links in the video description at all, I still appreciate every single one of you. You are all absolutely awesome, and I'll be back in real soon.